Hey folks, welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I'm going to give you guys a quick update on the wealth transfer, discuss a couple of the cryptocurrencies that we had a lot of expectations for the end of September, and discuss a few other things that I believe that is important for the wealth transfer community. Now, before I get into that, I am not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information, giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. Now, if you guys haven't noticed, over the last week, I haven't really put out a lot of videos. Really, folks, I had to take a break from just listening to so many prophecies and visions and videos, and it was just had become overwhelming. And I think many of you can attest to that. Sometimes some of you guys tell me you guys walk away for like 3 or 4 days. But, we had an influx of many dreams and visions dealing with Shiba Inu, the wealth transfer. Some other people were having dreams and visions about other different cryptocurrencies that are involved in the wealth transfer. And so with that explosion, there were so many people were sending me videos. Videos were constantly being posted, and I'm still trying to keep up with everybody who I like to listen to. But there was just so many, and there were so many people that individually that, they didn't have a big YouTube following. Maybe they didn't have any subscribers, but they were just posting what God was sharing with them. And so it was kind of overwhelming. And we had a lot of expectations for the month of September, right? And a lot of prophetic expectations, right? And it wasn't just with the newer people that were God had recently shared the wealth transfer with, but it was also some of the people that we have been listening for some time when we had these expectations of September. Now, not to say that anybody said the month of September, but all roads pointed towards September, and even somebody newer was prophesying that this was supposed to happen by the end of the summer. Now, for me, folks, I have been involved in the wealth transfer for a long time. And, we've been through this multiple times where we think the prophetic words are getting ready to manifest. We think the wealth transfer is getting ready to happen with different various investments, and then it doesn't. All right. So we've all been disappointed. And so there was an expectation. Now, it's not to say that I believe in every single person that posts a video about the wealth transfer and they give a time frame, because I've been there so many times that, okay, yeah, they said by this time that this would happen and it didn't happen. So what now, right? Do we still believe in those same prophets or dreamers who gave specific dates or time frames? And actually, that's one of the things that people don't really understand is that there's a difference between prophets and dreamers. You cannot call a dreamer who talks about their dream and it doesn't come to pass. You can't call them a false prophet. A prophet who says that this is what the Lord said and this is when it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. Obviously, they were not hearing from the Lord. You can't keep moving the goalpost. It is what it is. So we have to be careful, folks, because there's a lot of people that were let down by this, okay, because there were so many new people involved in the wealth transfer. And I was like, you know what? We've been here so many times before, and everybody was saying by the end of the summer. And so I did talk about that video, and it needed to be talked about because look where we are at right now. And then I think about, I keep getting, hey, we're not really sharing this with the community. When it comes to like what Maria Conwell says, tell my people. And we really haven't been focused on that, because if we were, God wouldn't have had to pour out his spirit and pour all these dreams and visions on all these different people if we had been sharing what we were supposed to be sharing, right? And there are some people that try to keep everything secret. That's not what God wants. He wants his people to know. Of course, the enemy is going to hear about it. And unfortunately, because the way that we do communicate is through YouTube and other social media sources to get the word out about the wealth transfer, of course the enemy is going to hear, but we're still supposed to put that information out there, right? And so we have a whole group of people that are late in the game, because most of us have been preparing for Shiba Inu for the last year, right? Just buying, stacking, swing trading, whatever the case, and just waiting for the moment when Shiba Inu does take off. So over the last couple weeks, we saw with the currencies collapse, starting with that weekend of September the 24th and 25th. We saw different segments of the stock market begin to collapse. There's a lot of warnings out there dealing with these different banking systems And just looking at where the Dow is for the year, it's only really down 20%. And the Federal Reserve really wants to bring this down even more, folks. I don't think people really understand that the Federal Reserve thinks the stock market is overvalued, right? They want to see this thing around 22, 23,000 for the Dow. So I believe in the next Federal Reserve meeting, which is right before the elections now, folks. So I don't know if they're going to try to go soft to try to make it look like the economy is booming right before people are going in to vote, or if they're going to do the 75 points to 100 point rate hike, which would, definitely shock the markets about 6 days before the elections. Now, we know the economy is basically right now on its last leg. We got issues with the banking system, right? And there are a lot of prophetic words dealing with that. We've been discussing these banking systems crashing since back, 10 years ago, because Kim Clement was talking about and prophesying about these different banks collapsing. All right, so I think that we are getting closer to that point. You heard of, Credit Suisse. Then you got this real estate bubble that's about to burst. And there are so many other things that are going on. And then you have this threat with the war as far as Russia and Ukraine, folks, and that is escalating. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that. But that is absolutely crazy, and people need to be prepared. And it doesn't matter. I'm not just talking about people here in the United States. I'm talking about all around the world. I truly believe that God has yet to shake this nation. And he has yet to shake the church. He has yet to shake this world. And I believe that time is getting ready to happen. I don't know what it is, what's going to happen, but I believe that there's going to be a shaking. The church is not ready for the wealth transfer. Personally, what I believe, the church is not ready. I'm ready. Many of you are ready for the wealth transfer, right? But I think as a whole, that we're not ready to receive the wealth transfer. If you look at the church and how corrupt it is, and you're going to be pouring, a lot of these people who don't understand are going to be pouring their wealth transfer into dead ministries and the false ministries. And I think that it'll make the church even worse, if things don't change here soon. That's why I believe that we need that great shaking. All right, so let's go ahead and get into Luna Classic and Shiba Inu, because these were two cryptocurrencies that were supposed to have done very well in the month of September. We were looking for some huge gains, and there was a lot of things that actually did take place during the month of September, but we'll go ahead and talk about Luna Classic first. Now, Luna Classic doesn't have any specific prophecies dealing with all that's supposed to happen in September. There was some prophecies fulfilled dealing with Luna Classic from Christopher Harris. The burn tax was supposed to have started on the 12th of September. Things got delayed, and that kind of took out some of the energy that was going forth with Luna Classic. Then we had an issue with Kucoin not doing everything that we thought that they were going to do. So they kind of took a back seat with this whole thing with the burning. And then we had Binance, who had said some things about the burning, and a lot of people were upset that they weren't doing it a certain way. And then now, of course, they have taken the lead in burning of Luna Classic. So there are some things that took out the momentum of Luna Classic, and that goes the same with Shiba Inu. Now, with Shiba Inu, things were a little bit different. It seemed like as if the prophecies that all roads led to September, right, or towards the end of September. And that's what we were all looking at. Then we had Shiba Eternity that was supposed to launch in September, which it didn't launch until October. And then we also have Shibarium, right? So these things did not happen for the month of September. And that actually did kind of take the momentum away from what was going on with Shiba Inu, because we didn't get those launches for the month of September. And there were some other prophetic words that came out that said that it was going to be the end of September, right? The end of the summer. That did not come to fruition, right? So there was a lot of speculation with that. And again, when it comes to dates and stuff, I will talk about it, folks, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I believe it. It did kind of line up with what we had thought in looking at our timeline. But nobody that we normally listen to has not said that this is going to happen in the month of September. So I want to make that clear. There's only one person that I know that said it was going to be by the end of the summer, which would have been in September. And that was somebody that we don't even really talk about. So there's also this debate that's going on right now. Is Luna Classic going to go first, or is Shiba Inu going to go first? It doesn't really matter which one goes first. Everybody should be prepared at this point. You know, how ready were you really if things had taken off in September? Right? Many of you who have been in this for a long time were already in position. You were already ready. The way I kind of look at it right now, sitting back and thinking about it after, a week, I was like, this was kind of like a test run, and were you ready for the wealth transfer at this time? And many of you who are just coming into the wealth transfer like a month ago, most of those people were not ready. Most of those people had not accumulated the Luna Classic or the Shiba Inu or any other cryptocurrencies they wanted. Some of those people were still learning how to trade. So there was a lot of things that kind of pointed towards, are people really ready? Now, one of the other things that did take place during the month of September was actually XRP actually had a really good run. It went from the 32 cents mark all the way up to the 54 cents mark. We're expecting at any moment a summary judgment. And a lot of people don't really understand what a summary judgment is. It's not a trial. It's based off the evidence that the judge has already heard, not listening to any witnesses, not listening to any cross-examination or anything like that. So if he has any doubt at all whatsoever, right, and this goes for all summary judgments, whether it's a criminal trial, civil trial, if the judge himself has any doubt at all whatsoever, right, and maybe he wants to hear from witnesses before he makes a decision, but if you ask for a summary judgment and that judge has any doubt at all whatsoever, XRP will not win the summary judgment, and then it will go to trial or it will go to some type of settlement. All right, so one last issue that I want to discuss. It's a very interesting topic, but also at the same time I find it very, very disturbing. And one of the things that I've noticed over the years, well before I got involved in any prophetic investment, and also after I did get involved in the prophetic investments and the wealth transfer, is that on many different levels that are above where we are at today, mega pastors or prophets that have big ministries and they're on TBN, Daystar, and then you have some that are on the level below them, and then below that level you have all these people who have these massive YouTube ministries, and you have all these different prophets talking about the wealth transfer, like your Julie Greens and your Amanda Graces and your Hank Kuhnemans and your Bo Ponies and your Manuel Johnsons and so forth. That is that level that is right above of where we are at right now. And the thing about it is I never hear them ever really talk about details of the wealth transfer. Now, Manuel Johnson has more recently talked about Shiba Inu, but he mentioned XRP, and Bo Pony does talk about gold. But most of these people do not talk about the details of the wealth transfer. And we've been discussing this for well over a year. And many of us are way ahead of the game as far as being in position, right? Some of us are so set, we don't have to do anything. Every now and then, we might hear a word that we might have to make some minor adjustments. But other than that, the only people that are prophesying about the details of the wealth transfer are the people that we listen to and that we feature. A lot of these pastors and preachers and prophets and mega pastors and all that stuff, they talk about the wealth transfer, but they don't give you any details of the wealth transfer. They give you your common wealth transfer scriptures, and I guess people are expecting to get a check in the mail. I guess people are expecting to have all their debts wiped out without having to do anything at all whatsoever. That's the impression that I have gotten over the years, because when I first heard a preacher talk about the wealth transfer, he didn't mention anything about how to obtain the wealth transfer, just to give tithes and offerings. So I think about Maria Conwell, tell my people it'll reach $1 and $13. So why is God sharing all these things with us? The Maria Conwells, the Johnny Currency 365, the Rosalind Solomon, the Drew Wyatt, and Christopher Harris, the Now Daily Bread, Prophetess Sharon, and many others. I'm sorry if I don't include everybody, but there are many others that we've been discussing this for a long time. So one thing that makes me wonder is, why isn't all these people prophesying the details of the wealth transfer? The Julie Greens, the Amanda Graces, and especially the Hank Kuhnemans. Right now, there's actually a bunch of prophets on this particular level that do kind of hang out with each other. but they're not talking about the details of the wealth transfer. They're not telling you about Bitcoin crashing to zero. They're not telling you what Shiba Inu is going to do, Luna Classic is going to do. They're not telling you any of the details about what the dinar is going to do, right? I know Bo Pony, he talks about gold, but you are not going to get wealthy off of gold. All right, folks, if you have $1,800 to spend on an ounce of gold, I would not be putting it in gold. I would be putting it into something that's going to bring wealth. There's nothing wrong with gold. It's just prophetically speaking, we haven't seen anything above 35,000. And I've warned people that once it gets to a certain point, these businesses are going to be rejecting your gold when you try to turn it in because they know it's going to come down. And so there's nothing wrong with having some gold, but it's not going to give you the wealth that a lot of people are talking about in this wealth transfer. Right? Not unless it drops down to 300 and then it skyrockets up to 30,000. But trying to find somebody to give you $30,000 for an ounce of gold is going to be very, very difficult. So we have Manuel Johnson, who did talk about XRP, and he has talked about recently Shiba Inu. He's just now seeing Shiba Inu. And God recently poured out his spirit among a whole bunch of people dealing with Shiba Inu and the wealth transfer. Details, instructions, pricing points, sell points. They're not seeing any of this at all whatsoever, so it kind of disturbs me. But if these are prophets, how come God is not sharing at least Shiba Inu or Luna Classic or any of the other prophetic investments? How come God is not pouring his spirit on Julie Green and she's not having powerful visions and dreams about Shiba Inu as like some of these people who don't have big ministries or any ministries at all whatsoever? And I think about, tell my people it will reach $1 and then $13 for Maria Conwell. How come God is not sharing that with all these other people? And they're only talking about the wealth transfer, but they're not telling you how to be a part of it. And they're telling you, doom and gloom as far as the stock market and all that stuff and the cryptocurrency markets. But we've already been knowing all that for a long time. So they're just sharing information that we already know what's about to happen. We can see it in the news. They don't have to keep telling us the banks are going to crash. They don't have to tell us the economy is going to crash. We've been seeing it for years. And they've been trying to do everything they can to hold off this major crash that is going to come. So it makes you wonder, why God isn't sharing these visions and dreams with these prophets. They're not sharing it with the mega ministries and the mega pastors and the mega prophets. I don't know. It's just something to think about, folks. And, that's why I say that the church is not ready for this wealth transfer. So, like I said, I find this fascinating, but also disturbing, why God is not pouring his spirit on these certain prophets. They have to know. And I would just wonder how much of an impact that could have on the wealth transfer community if they were actually a part of the wealth transfer the way that we see it. So anyways, folks, that is all that I have for this. I just wanted to share some thoughts, and that's all they are, folks, is that these are my thoughts, and I discuss this with other people that I know. So that's really all that I have for today. I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.